Yeah,
Oh,
we're live.
okay, we're
Okay,
live.
okay.
Okay, hi everybody. How's it going? How's your Sunday? Um, this is the first time either of us have done something like this, so it's like a bit of an experiment, but I think I think it's going to be fun. How you doing, Lauren?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. I think this could be really interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, this life. I'm doing really well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I've switched to decaf recently, so I'm like jittery 'cause I'm nervous, but I don't have any adage of morning coffee. Um,
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so thanks everyone for joining us to the first of a new series that I'm doing called Dog Training Won't Solve Your Problem If. For you, those of you who don't know me, I'm Megan and I run Walk to Heel, which is my business. And in this series, I'll be talking to dog professionals around the world and thinking about why training alone isn't always enough. So these conversations are an invitation for us to see dogs in their wholeness and to imagine relationships based on reciprocity, challenging the more kind of like top down power over implications of the dog trainer paradigm. And today I'm joined by Lauren from Lead with Luna. And Lauren and I both began walkers, and now we would probably be known to our clients and out in the professional world as dog trainers. But we've been thinking about that word, dog training, and how it doesn't necessarily fit with the work that we're doing. So today we're kind of going to look at that um, and unpack uh, the label dog trainer, and thinking about, what dogs really need and how we might reimagine the training role and how that would change the way that we live alongside our, little canine kin. So Lauren, you call yourself a dog trainer. What does that mean to you today?
Um, at the very start, when I started dog training, I the word just felt like how it is, just no dog training and teaching the dog. But the longer I've been dog training, the more the word didn't really sit right with me. It sounds more like authoritarian, more of an authoritarian word. And I don't think that's all dogs need, like to be taught to sit and everything. I think they miss the point that things like that are more of a life skill that dogs need to know rather than just being taught for obedience. So the longer I've been dog training, the more the word hasn't been sitting right with me. Um, so I suppose it does fit if you are just teaching, the basics, but I think it still has those connotations of obedience and doing what you're told. And really, with dog training, I've noticed you're not really teaching the dog; you're more teaching the owner
Yeah,
on how to teach the dog.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, totally. I had a call with a new client yesterday, and he, right off the bat was like, "Yeah, I just want to learn like what we're doing wrong," and that's kind of the approach to take. And it's not necessarily like
Hmm.
doing think something wrong, but it's this idea of like when I think about dog training or what that conjures to me is like really focusing solely on the dog and how we're training them to be in the human world. But actually, it's so much more than that, right? It's so much about the relationship between the human and the dog, and what kind of um what the things that the dog might need in the relationship to feel safe, in order to feel okay. And, you know, for me, the is on the nervous system, right? And like helping them regulate. And if that is what we can do and prioritize that, then often that's when I see behavior change happen. But it for me is less about yeah, like focusing on like I'm training a dog because I want to plug in a formula, do these like drills and over again, and then I'll have a dog that is a good dog, you know. Um, Yeah, so I guess that's evolved for you since you kind of first began?
Mhm. Yeah, it definitely has. Um, it's more like educating the dog and helping the dog live alongside us in our world. I see it more as that now.
Yeah.
Um, because there are so many dogs that do struggle, even the dogs that seem okay and happy. I think even still them sort of dogs, I think they do still struggle as well sometimes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, as well, I see it as well as it's not just teaching the dog or educating the dog. I think it's also about providing support for the owners as well, because sometimes it can be isolating, especially if you're struggling with your dog.
Yeah.
So I think it's about that too, providing support for the owners too.
Yeah, 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 like, it's almost like, the emotional support that is required, um, for someone who's in a caretaking role, right? Like, it can be isolating, it can be confusing, it can be frustrating, and, um, even just having someone to kind of bounce ideas off of or just be like, "Oh my god, I don't know, if I'm doing this right," or, someone needing that, like, level of reassurance. I think that is often a role that I take, too.
Mhm.
I wonder, yeah, when you are working with clients and you're giving them that kind of more support, the human side of things, like what comes up in that area for you?
Um, a lot of it is whenever owners have a dog that you know just struggles loads, like reactive and they can't walk the dog and everything. And you get those experiences yourself through owning dogs. So then you can relate to the owner. I think that's a really important one. If like a dog trainer or a dog coach or behaviourist can relate and identify with the owner and let them know that they're not on their own, they're not the only one that does struggle. That
Yeah.
even us struggle too. And yeah.
Yeah, because people, there's so much pressure that we place on ourselves to, like, be the best caretaker in the world and make sure our dog has the best, and I think there's a lot of myth busting I do to like support people with the guilt that they have because, if we've got a reactive dog, for example, like they don't often benefit from going on a walk every single day, but it is pretty entrenched in our culture that I've noticed that, you know, we think that we need to walk our dog every day. And then there's
Mhm.
amount of like guilt and like worry that like if I stop walking my dog every day, what does that mean for their exercise or their ability to be out in the world? And is it going to make it worse? And so just helping people when they get at the crossroads of that decisions to understand that there's actually like a huge range of options here. And if a walk every single day doesn't fit your dog, then that's okay. But I think someone coming to that decision on their own might find it a bit more difficult than if they had like professional reassurance, that there's just a different way to do things if we have a dog that maybe has some complex needs.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you use the word coach, which I really identify with because I like that idea because it to me it brings it out more and it's less like just focusing on the dog and it's more about like okay, I'm coaching the person, I'm coaching the dog. It feels like sometimes I want to say like I'm a relationship coach for you and your dog because that's kind of what
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
Are there any other kind of terms that, um, you identify with or would feel more relevant than trainer?
Um, there was some, but I can't think of them at the minute, so I can't. But yeah, dog coach was one of them. Um, it does seem to have like a softer term.
Yeah. Yeah.
It describes everything a lot better.
Mm.
Um, or
I've had
honestly, gone blank.
That's okay, I've got some. I've had some clients a lot of clients actually over the years tell me that it's like therapy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
there's like, I've had clients joke like, "Oh, you're my therapist." But I also think there's like a therapeutic component for the clients as well because another thing that I find difficult about the training kind of framework is that it's like top down. It's like, okay, I'm the expert and I'm training the dog, or I'm teaching you how to train your dog. But it's actually like there's so much that we can learn from dogs, from
Mhm.
our relationship with dogs, from like how to be in relationship with dogs in a way that is reciprocal and based on like trust and respect and, consistent bounding, like all really useful in the human world too. So
Mhm.
I've worked with a lot of couples who end up being like, oh, this is like couples therapy because they're
Mhm.
about, you know, relationship practices that are, um, yeah, just like a bit like healthy and intentional and able to like apply that in real life. And I
Mhm.
wonder if you ever find that your things that you're teaching your people through dogs is like applicable for them in their everyday life or their own personal relationships.
Yeah, definitely, and it does. I think it does help take a weight off their shoulders. And you said it is very accurate. It is like being a relationship coach between the dog and the human. That is a very accurate way to describe it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's one of the most accurate ways to describe it. It's just not a term; it's really widely used.
Yeah. I and this
Practically.
I come up with this all the time. I'm like, no one is Googling relationship coach for my dog, but people are Googling dog trainer. So, in some respect, I feel caught constantly about being like, I'm a dog trainer because I need work and I need clients. But then
Mhm.
when step, like, I'm actually a dog witch. How does that track for you?
Yeah. Hmm. And
um,
that's really the only way to get like discovered or found online or is by calling yourself a dog trainer because you say nobody's really typing in anything else to look for.
yeah, yeah. So I think that's why it's important to do stuff like this, right? So that we're just kind of like, why the conversation? In no way am on here saying, like, there's no place for dog trainers. And there's
Mm.
like loads of dog trainers that I like massively respect and I learn from. And
Yeah.
painting the dog trainer um title with like this sweeping brush. But I
Mhm.
think it captures what we're actually doing. Uh, it's just so much more than what it kind of where it comes from. Like I guess the term dog training is probably um fairly new. My understanding of the history of dog training, it's probably like in the 50s or 60s that this was like became, the way that we were understanding how we were learning to be with dogs. And that
Mhm.
I'm at an it's like dominance theory paradigm. And there's been obviously so much work since then to kind of change what we're doing. Like we've got positive reinforcement, we've got force free, we've now got like relationship based dog training, which is maybe what we're kind of talking about, right? Uh,
Mhm.
I do think it just needs a bit of a rebrand. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, so I guess I'm wondering, you know, going back to this idea of like it's not just about um training a dog because it doesn't account for what we're learning from them or because there's a two-way street happening here and um that's not really being represented when we talk about dog training. um so yeah, I guess I wonder like what we need to think about as humans in order to kind of like be in right relationship with their dogs. Like advice would you give to people? Like what shifts do you think need to happen for people to show up to these relationships in a way that is beneficial for the dog?
I think we are becoming more progressive with dogs, but I think there's still a lot that needs to be done. Um, I think, and it sounds pretty like, simple, but I think all you really need to do is just see the dog or the whatever animal or a cat, whatever, just as its own wee being and just live alongside them. Just try and make their life easier
Yeah.
and see them as just this vulnerable creature that's just trying to live with us and just make it a wee bit easier for them without having any expectations on them at
Mm,
all.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah, because again, this idea of training is that we're placing these expectations. We're like, I'm going to train you to live in the human world in the way that I want you to live. You know,
Hmm.
I'm going to train you to not bark because I'm worried about the neighbors or whatever. But that doesn't you're right, it doesn't, like, see them in their wholeness. Um, and I find that's, like, harder to teach, right? It's like or it's just less, like it's not like this, like, step-by-step spreadsheet that you kind of, like a training protocol that you go through. And not that there's again, not that there's not value in life skills and training, because
Mhm.
there is, but
Yeah.
it's that teaching that more relational component of, like, how do you just gotta, like, see them, respect their autonomy and agency, um, and, like, live alongside them in a way that honors that.
Mhm.
Pretty good advice.
Yeah, I think that's just part of it. So it is. It's like quite a big component. And I think once you see that and see them as beings that, like, need your voice, then a lot of other things could just fall into place.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and so how do you kind of get that message across to your clients? Like, what do you do in your sessions or in your conversations that help them have that kind of perspective shift that then means that behavior change or change follows?
Well, if they're trying to, teach their dog or anything, I I do remind them that the dogs have like the mental learning capacity of like a 2-year-old
Mm, mhm,
or a 3-year-old. So they're not the same as kids, but they have the same sort of mental capacity as a child.
mm,
And so they require that same level, of understanding and patience
mm,
and some things so that um so whenever like, tell clients that that does help them, especially if they do have kids of their own.
mm.
They can see it more, they can relate a bit better so they can.
Yeah, 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 definitely. And it's kinda like when you have that understanding, then you realize that, like, if you've come to a professional, right? Because 'cause you're like, "I need my dog to stop barking or biting," or whatever the behavior problem is, like, for me, most clients come to me because there's a behavioral issue, and they're like, "I need a trainer," right? "I need to train my dog to not do this thing." And that's okay, like, no judgment to people who are coming to me with that understanding, because that's, like, what is the kinda cultural norm, right? Um,
Mhm,
but it's like, okay, but maybe what we need to see is, they've got this level of learning capacity, they're really vulnerable, they're excuse me. They're these whole beings that need our support and need our patience. And then that's kind of when you're like, "Oh, I don't need to train my dog." It's not about training. It's like, what are these behaviors that we don't love to see? They're expressions of something, right? We
mhm.
kind of agree.
I'm sorry, I broke out there. What was that last wee bit?
Oh, okay. Just that the behaviors are not necessarily like bad behaviors that we need to train out, right? We need to train the dog to not do the thing. We if we have this like perspective shift that you're talking about, then we see those behaviors as expressions of something.
Mhm. Yes, and then you can give those behaviors a different outlet
Mm,
or give the dog an alternative behavior to do instead of doing X, Y, and Z. So they still get their outlet and it's not being suppressed.
yes.
And that can help the dog express themselves in a healthier way for the owner as
Yeah.
well.
Right? And it's like that's the thing is that this is the training to suppress, like, you know, that is the thing that keeps the behavior going because it's never kind of moved through to completion, right? And that's a beautiful way of putting it that you've just said, like, express themselves. Like, that's what they're
Mhm,
trying to express something. And if we
mhm,
actually find a way to allow them to do that in a way that is, like, still safe for everyone, then sorry, I've just recovered from being horribly ill. Um, but if they're like, yeah, if they're able to move through that impulse, then that won't be kind of there and trying to come out all the time. Um, that's why I think enrichment this is such um a great shift that's happened in recent years with dog training.
mhm,
If before maybe if you had a dog who is like constantly trying to eat chicken bones on your dog walk and you're just moving the dog away from the chicken bone every single time and you're like, no, no, no. And how do I get my dog to stop eating the chicken bones? And it's like, that is a losing battle because your dog is
Mhm.
there and there are chicken bones everywhere. So if we can actually see that that's a behavior that's normal for a dog, and give them that outlet that's like allowing them to like use that scavenging brain, in a way that doesn't involve chicken bones from, then that's how you actually see the reduction in that behavior because you've given them that outlet.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it does help a lot. And then especially like as you say, for example, like with the chicken bones, I mean putting the dog away, that's just gonna make them want to get to the chicken bone even more and see it as like a goal or a jackpot to get.
Yeah, yeah. And it's counterintuitive, and I get it. I had a session with a client yesterday, and the field was just like covered in duck poo, and the dog was like just really nervously trying to eat all the duck poo, and she just kept being, "Oh no, no!" And like I get it, because like we don't want our dogs to eat chicken bones and duck poo, but we need to do something different. Um, yeah. So I guess I'm thinking about yeah, this idea that you've just brought up around, the mental capacities of a dog, and the fact that you said that they kind of got the brain of a 2-year-old more or less, in terms
Mhm.
of, yeah, understanding the world. Um, and so then I guess I'm wondering, like, w if that's how we're seeing them and as these vulnerable beings who don't necessarily, like, speak human in the world that we've created for them. Like what do they need instead of training? Or what like when we have this perspective shift, like what else are we doing besides kind of like teaching them life skills?
Um, because like if you do view them as vulnerable beings, with the capacity of a 2 or a 3-year-old, alongside that, I think we do need more safeguarding.
Mm,
So we do because there is very little safeguarding towards dogs.
yeah.
And like a lot of owners, like with owners, it doesn't matter who it comes from, like, like a professional, no, a vet or a behaviourist or anybody, if something doesn't sit right with the owner, if the owner feels like this doesn't feel right, they should go with those instincts.
Mm, mhm. Mhm.
Be there like stick up for their dog or be a voice for their dog and have more safeguarding in place and
Yeah.
things society needs to as well.
And sorry, can you say that last thing again?
And things society needs to as well. Have
Mm,
more safeguarding for dogs.
yeah. And so
Sorry.
what would more safeguarding for dogs look like if we can kind of consider, the fact that they're vulnerable beings?
I think the dog training industry would need to be regulated. Currently, it is very unregulated. Anybody can call themselves a dog trainer,
Yeah.
anybody at all, and that's quite a scary thought. It's great if there are some people who are, good at it, because you can have qualifications or not have qualifications and still be really good at what you do.
Totally,
And
yes.
the ones that are good at what they do, they will go ahead and get their qualifications and everything. But there are ones that maybe are just looking to make a bit of money and they
Yeah,
don't really care what they're teaching or what they're putting out there. So it's very unregulated. And because of that, it can cause so many issues with dogs. And then they're giving the owners like misinformation and doing
yeah,
things that are going to be detrimental to the dog in the long run.
yeah,
So there's more regulations in place and like more laws to protect dogs and who can work with dogs as well. That could help quite a lot.
yeah, yeah. Like, I totally agree. Like, I think, whether or not you've got a qualification, if you've got the experience and you've got the right lens, there's a lot that you can teach people,
Mhm.
and give, um, but without any kind of and I don't want to say standardization, but like without any kind of oversight in this industry, it just does leave it open for, people to come in with, you know, the wrong lens, or like a lens that, there's loads of like obedience, negative reinforcement trainers, um, that are out there, and like advocating for violence basically, and saying that it's okay. And
Mhm.
yeah, so I guess I'm just wondering, like, what does a regulation look like in a way that doesn't discount the people who don't have like specific qualifications, but at the same time, like, um because there are I guess there are people who have qualifications who are still advocating for, these like negative tools, right?
Mhm.
What does it look like? And then at the same time, we have laws and legislations, right, that like download all of the responsibility and the blame onto the dog. Maybe they had a shit trainer, sorry. Maybe they've had a bad trainer. They've been like on a choke chain, or whatever's happened to them that has meant that they have now experienced enough violence towards them that they are reactive. And, if something happens with that dog where they are in such a heightened state of arousal, fear, stress, panic that they bite someone, they could,
Mhm.
like, there's like laws around like them being put down. So like while there's no protections for, the type of training that they receive, and like what the humans can do to a dog, that
Mhm.
that same government is, or state is, still creating laws that like let us kill them. Um So I'm kind of also interested, I guess, in like, okay, if these laws aren't protecting dogs, on both sides of this coin, like what can we do instead, or in the meantime, or, um, you know, how can we create communities of accountability amongst trainers, amongst caretakers, um, amongst our community, that do put safeguarding in place with dogs, but it's not without waiting for like the kind of government to step in and do something, because I don't know if I trust that they will or can, you know?
I
Um,
don't trust them with the well. I have very low hopes for that. Any kind of
tiny, tiny, non-existent hopes. Um, so yeah, I'm like, I don't know what the answer is, but I think about this a lot. And
theme.
yeah, I wonder if you've got any ideas of what it would look like instead.
Um, well, for example, some areas of where I live, there's still a lot of dominance-based ideals. So there is, unfortunately. And I've often thought it'd be great to create like a community hub um for low income areas,
Uh-huh.
because maybe not a lot of people, can afford a dog trainer
There's
and maybe going for like a cheaper option.
yeah.
So an educational community hub.
Yeah.
And so if people are on a low income, they can get it for free or at a big discount. They can come in and there could be like educational classes before you get a dog.
Oh,
Um, so there can, and helping owners decide what type of dog they adopt to fit their needs, and what kids, if they have any kids. And you'd have like puppy classes and like one to one for people with reactive dogs. And then it would be like, say, at a weekend, and an educational thing for children to come in and learn about canine body language and like child friendly dog training,
yeah.
teaching them how to teach the dogs as well. Like something community based, be
Yeah.
like a charity or just something very, very cheap for them. And then you just give in donations. Like I think that could be really good.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And
Dream, can we do that?
I would love to do that. I think about it all the time with community hub.
Yeah.
So I can visualize how it would look and everything. So I
Yeah.
can. But I think starting off, like, I mean, something like that could be hard, or um, teaching in primary schools. Um, P1 from whenever the kids are really, really wee, because the owners might not, the parents, um, might not have, the tools or the knowledge, or they might not know a lot. So you can teach the kids.
Yeah.
The kids can come home with their homework and exercise books and talk to their parents. And the parents can help them with the homework, and then the parents learn that way too.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's a great idea. And I also like the idea of like bringing it into like a classroom full of kids. Um, because not every kid is going to have a dog, right? But like dogs are in communities with kids, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of children who are maybe a bit unsure about dogs. I work with kids all the time who just need like a bit of confidence building or a bit of like I think you said like canine body language, like being able to read the dog so that way the kid and the dog can like live alongside each other in that way that you were describing at the beginning of this conversation, and like making that something that kids learn whether or not they have a dog, I think is like a great tool to, yeah, create these communities where dogs fit in. You know, we are trying to fit in with dogs, and dogs are trying to fit in with us, and it's like a collaboration. It's not about like we're training the dog to come into the community and like be this perfect dog. It's like, now how do we all like live in these communities where dogs exist, whether or not we are the primary like caregivers or not. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's a great idea, and the idea of just like a physical space, I think would be so nice. Where there can be all kinds of education, ranging from the more traditional stuff around like training and life skills, but then also like education around these kind of broader ideas around like how do we live alongside with dogs? How do we coexist with them? Like, what do they even actually need? And what do we do when things go wrong, I think? And that's another one where I think laws and the legal system comes up, and it's not necessarily um, gonna have a good, like, has the dog's welfare in mind. You know, I think about this a lot in my community because I'm part of a WhatsApp group with maybe like 200 people who have dogs around my neighborhood. And
Yeah.
horrible thing that happened recently where there was a dog fight. One of the dogs was seriously injured and had to be put down, and that is, like, created understandably, like, very intense emotional ripple amongst this community that I'm part of because it's absolutely heartbreaking. At the same time, the only ways that we knew how to respond or the group knew how to respond was, like, we need to get the police involved. You know, we need to kind of like there was quite a kind of like punitive kind of carceral response. Um, and that's not going to have a good outcome for that dog who didn't who was um still alive at the end of that fight, right? There was still, that's going to make you get put down. Well, I just, again, I don't have the answer, but I have the question of like, what do we do instead? Like, how do we escalate? How do we kind of prevent these fights and these attacks from happening? And how do we, if something does happen, how do we respond in a way that like holds everyone? Is probably very heartbreaking for both of those caretakers to have been part of that.
Mhm.
Um, so like a place where there's a hub and there's a place where like people can come and like can like move through conflict around, my dog's not getting along with this dog on the playground. Like I
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, no, I think that would be a really good idea. It would help loads.
yeah.
So it would. And there was a point you made earlier that I was thinking about. Um, we're talking about, dog trainers that don't have a very good, that's like code of ethics, and know how to cause more behavioural issues in the dog, and then it can lead to like really bad results. It can even lead to like, a dog biting a child on the face, and then the dog is held responsible
Yeah.
for that. If you go like down that chain of events, it's really that dog trainer that should be held accountable, and not the dog, and certainly not the owner. Because the owner went to a dog trainer thinking they're getting the best advice, and they're
Yeah.
following through with it, thinking they're going to help the dog, life's going to be easier. And it's really the dog trainer that doesn't like have It was the dog trainer essentially that bit back
Yeah,
from the methods that he used, and then but the dog trainer gets away scot free,
totally.
and that just does not make any sense to me at all.
No, it doesn't. No, but in the world of human supremacy, unfortunately, it does. Um,
Yeah.
but it's really hard. Like, how do we deal with that? How would we hold someone like that accountable in a way? And um, again, I'm going back to your hub idea, just because I love hubs and physical spaces and like community led initiatives. But it could be a place where people come to learn about how to live alongside their dogs, but it could also be a place where people who are like training and working with dogs come and learn how
Yeah.
to, there's like be like a value sharing that happens there. Um, yeah,
Hmm. Like it would be a place for anybody, or like any type of dog trainer. Like if there was a dog trainer using those methods, but then start thinking, oh wait a minute, it's like, well, more than welcome to come in
definitely.
and
Yeah.
learn and volunteer and learn and work alongside if they have that, if they get that idea in their head that maybe what they're doing
Yeah.
isn't exactly ethical or anything. So it could be a place for everybody and anybody.
Yeah, I agree. 'Cause we've all inherit beliefs from somewhere, right? And as long as we're like committed to unpacking them and committed to receiving feedback and like, learning new ways of doing things, I think, yeah, everyone's invited.
Mhm.
Except Caesar Milan, you're not invited.
Yeah. No, apart from him. No, he looks better.
Oh, it's been really nice talking to you. This has actually flown by. My nerves have gone.
Yes, yeah, my nerves have like just completely disappeared. Like I really, really enjoyed this.
Oh, cool.
Like so interesting. So
Um, yeah. So where can people find you? What are you up to? What are you doing?
I'm mainly on Substack. I do have social media, but I kind of moved off that. I don't really post as much. I keep forgetting about it, and I've never been into social media. So now it's mainly just Substack. Um, Lead with Luna. So that's how I think that's called a handle on Substack, is it?
Well, I don't know.
No, well, Lead with Luna on Substack.
Yeah, I highly recommend
Right.
it. It's full of like really thorough practical advice. Like it is very, very good. I really enjoy reading everything that you write.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And then me, I'm also on Substack because that's why we're here and what we're doing. And I yesterday launched something called the Caretaker Club, which I'm really excited about. It's weekly drop-in sessions where you can learn about my stepping stones method that does go beyond dog training and is more about how do we be in right relationship with our dogs. And I really like it because it's a weekly club. It's not a course. So it's something that you can take away and just do bite-sized things that you can apply in real time and get, kind of direct advice from me around the things that you're dealing with your dog. And yeah, it's been so nice talking to you, Lauren. I would love to do this again with you sometime.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
okay. Do you have any Sunday plans? What are you up to?
I'm going to go up soon and see my sister.
That's
Yeah, have a coffee with her. Yeah, and pretty quiet. I'm supposed to be doing a post today for Substack, so hopefully I'll get it out and post it today. If not, it'll probably be tomorrow night.
okay. Okay,
But
great.
yeah,
Sure to check it out. I'm sure it's going to be great.
thank you.
Uh, Cool. Okay. Well, I'll speak to you soon. And thanks so much for coming on here and chatting to me.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye.